The movie begins in 1993 at Windsor Middle School, where a young girl named Jordan Sanders nervously prepares to present a science experiment to her classmates. Already a target for relentless bullying, Jordan timidly walks on stage, trying to keep her composure while the students mock her. Despite the crude remarks, she takes a deep breath and attempts to demonstrate the physics of a pendulum. She tries to explain the experiment before her, and is somewhat successful in doing so. The situation, however, quickly takes a turn for the worse when the mean girl in the audience grabs the pendulum's ball and swings it back with intense force, causing it to hit Jordan and knock her straight to the ground. Injured and humiliated, Jordan ends up in the hospital, where her parents try to console her. Jordan tries to give up, claiming that she wants to be someone powerful. That's when her dad tells her that she's just little now, and when she grows up, she can become a boss who can easily rise above others. Jordan is motivated by this, and vows to become someone intimidating when she grows up. She resolves to transform herself from a victim into a bully, determined to make others suffer the same fate she endured. The scene now cuts to the present, where Jordan, now a ruthless billionaire, has finally achieved her childhood ambition. It turns out that she is the CEO of her successful tech company, JSI. Still, not over her childhood trauma, Jordan consistently focuses on being a fierce, no-nonsense boss. Since she had always been a science prodigy, she was successful in developing a virtual assistant named Homegirl, which she uses to manage her mornings. But despite her success, her abrasive personality makes everyone fear and loathe her. One morning, Jordan wakes up and sees that her apartment is still messy from the night before. Furious, she calls her overworked assistant, April Williams, and demands she show up at work as soon as possible. She then berates April for the smallest things like not instructing the housekeeper to arrange her slippers at the perfect angle. April, like everyone else who works at JSI, endures Jordan's relentless bullying, as she has no other option. Whilst panicking, she quickly gets dressed and rushes to the company. She chats with her friend Tony, a local donut vendor, for quite a while. The two catch up with each other and have a great time, but that's when Jordan calls April and yells at her again for not scheduling her meetings properly. Before April can even answer, Jordan sees Trevor, her fling, happily cooking breakfast. As expected, Jordan is furious and angrily approaches him. Since she only has a casual relationship with him, she doesn't see the point in spending time with him apart from having sex. On the other hand, Trevor, who's a really charming man, wants something deeper and meaningful. Despite his efforts, Jordan keeps him at arm's length, viewing their relationship as purely physical and refusing to invest emotionally. Moving forward, Jordan kicks Trevor out of her apartment and gets ready for the day. She shoves past people, rolling her eyes at anyone showing emotion. She walks to a small coffee shop, cuts the line, and forces her way to the front to place her order first. Without a trace of remorse, she gets in her car and, as usual, calls April to reprimand her. In the meantime, April arrives at the JSI office early and works really hard to prepare for Jordan's arrival. She shares a brief, awkward conversation with her coworker and crush, Preston, before heading upstairs. To her dismay, she finds Jordan's most important client, the overbearing Connor, already waiting in Jordan's office. Despite noticing April's preparations, Connor strolls over and disrupts everything. Instead of acknowledging her efforts, he sits in Jordan's chair and sips his coffee, completely unconcerned. April tries to say something, but before she can, Jordan storms in. Alarmed, April quickly warns the staff to clear out. She then rushes to greet Jordan, who is already berating her employees for loitering. Turning her attention to Connor, Jordan asks why he's in her office. Connor bluntly responds that he's considering taking his business elsewhere. Jordan is shocked by this and tries to persuade Connor not to do so since he's her biggest client. In response, Connor asks Jordan to deliver an exceptional pitch within 48 hours. Jordan, unbothered by the pressure, agrees to his terms. Later, Jordan arranges a team meeting where she ruthlessly insults her employee, Scott, for having an apple in front of her. She snatches the fruit from his hand, licks it, and spits on it before forcing him to eat it. Terrified by Jordan's temper, the others remain awfully quiet and obedient. Shortly after, Jordan instructs her team to come up with impressive gaming app ideas for Connor. With only 48 hours, she demands they create something extraordinary, as quickly as possible. However, when her employees present their ideas, she ruthlessly critiques and dismisses them. April, a brilliant engineer herself, wants to pitch her idea, but is too scared to speak up. Frustrated by the lack of progress, Jordan threatens to fire everyone if they don't deliver a great idea soon. Just then, April musters up the courage to tell Jordan about her concept. She tries to explain the app, but Jordan dismisses her, refusing to take pitches from an assistant. In response, April asserts that her idea is really well thought out, so it could really be successful. Jordan, however, rolls her eyes and insults April, accusing her of wanting more than she deserves. Stevie, Tony's daughter, watches this scene unfold and is enraged by Jordan's behavior towards April. Furious, she calls Jordan mean and self-centered. Jordan, however, doesn't care and insults Stevie back. Refusing to give up, Stevie, an avid magic enthusiast, waves her magic initially. Jordan dismisses it as nonsense, but soon feels an odd sensation. Terrified, she angrily kicks Stevie out of the office and begins tormenting all her employees. The next morning, Jordan wakes up to discover she has transformed into her 13-year-old self. Initially, she doesn't realize what has happened and is stunned when the people she used to bully begin bullying her in return. Even while getting coffee, strangers mock her and laugh. Confused and unsettled by how everyone is treating her like a child, Jordan rushes back to her apartment. There, she stares at her reflection in horror. Panicking, she grabs a trunk and anxiously rummages through its contents. After some frantic searching, she pulls out her old school yearbook and a photo of herself at 13. Staring at the picture, Jordan finally comes to terms with the shocking reality of her turning into a child. Desperate for help, she calls April, who hurries over, only to be equally stunned by the situation. At first, April assumes the young Jordan is a relative of the adult Jordan and treats her kindly. But when April attempts to call adult Jordan and sees little Jordan answering the phone, she panics and threatens to call the police. That's when Jordan hands April the yearbook and explains the entire situation to her. April tries to make sense of the situation, but can't think of any logical explanation. She Googles various diseases to see if any of them could explain Jordan's transformation. Just then, Jordan remembers Stevie and puts two and two together. She realizes that the little girl's wish actually came true. Furious, she demands that Stevie be brought over immediately to reverse the wish. April, however, refuses to kidnap the girl, but agrees to talk to her about it. Now frustrated, Jordan grabs a bottle of wine to calm her nerves. Before she can take a sip, there's a knock at the door. Annoyed, Jordan opens it without thinking, still holding the wine bottle. To her shock, she finds an agent from Child Protective Services at her doorstep. Jordan is shocked to learn that her nosy neighbor had called CPS on her by mistaking little Jordan to be adult Jordan's daughter. Moving forward, Agent B from CPS steps into the apartment and demands an explanation. Scrambling for a believable story, Jordan and April hastily concoct a lie about Jordan's parents being absent, with April pretending to be her aunt. During their conversation, however, Jordan accidentally reveals that she hasn't been to school in years, causing B to enroll her in middle school. She warns that if Jordan doesn't attend, April could face jail time for neglecting the child. After Agent B leaves, April turns to Jordan and tells her to get ready for school. Jordan groans in frustration but shifts the conversation, asking April to take over the company until she returns to her adult self. April agrees, but only on the condition that she be promoted to creative executive once everything goes back to normal. Jordan scoffs at the demand, but agrees nonetheless. Shortly after, April takes Jordan to Windsor Middle School. Jordan is terrified to go back to her old school where everyone relentlessly bullied her. April, however, forces her to get registered as soon as possible. This eventually leads to an altercation between the two, which ends with April spanking Jordan and dragging her into the school. At school, April meets with the principal, who quickly enrolls Jordan in middle school. He then introduces them to the charismatic Mr. Marshall, who happens to be one of the teachers. Both April and Jordan are immediately awestruck by Mr. Marshall and attempt to subtly flirt with him. After a brief conversation, April wishes Jordan good luck and drives off to JSI. Not wanting to relive the experience all over again, Jordan tries to assert dominance to intimidate her classmates. Sadly, her attempts backfire when the school's mean girl Jasmine continuously makes fun of her outfit and hair. When lunchtime rolls around, the students sneakily stick straws and pencils in Jordan's hair, forcing her to sit with the school outcasts, Isaac, Raina, and Devin. Jordan is initially reluctant to associate with them and thinks they're below her standard. But when the three welcome her in and try their best to cheer her up, she feels better and even sees parts of her younger self in them. Meanwhile, at JSI, April struggles to take charge. None of the employees listen to her, so she calls Jordan, puts her on Bluetooth, and follows all her instructions. With the company in crisis over the potential loss of Connor's business, April tries to channel Jordan's aggressive leadership style and energy. However, her efforts backfire. Instead of working as a team, everyone starts insulting Jordan and searching for new jobs. Seeing this, Jordan grows increasingly frustrated and yells at April to boss them around. That evening, April picks Jordan up from school, and the two head to a fancy restaurant for dinner. During their meal, Jordan asks if April has located Tony and Stevie. April replies that she hasn't since Jordan drove them away from JSI. She adds that the city doesn't provide contact information for food trucks, making it impossible to find Tony's truck. During their conversation, Jordan sneakily sips on April's wine and gets completely wasted. She climbs on top of the bar and starts singing. April, equally drunk, joins her, and the two perform a love song in front of the entire restaurant. Eventually, they flee the scene and go back to Jordan's apartment. On the balcony, April braids Jordan's hair while Jordan opens up about the bullying she endured in school. She explains that she became really mean and bossy because no one ever took her seriously. Their moment is interrupted when Trevor unexpectedly arrives at the apartment. Sneaking into the living room, he starts dancing seductively to impress Jordan. However, when he sees young Jordan, he mistakes her for the actual Jordan's daughter. Overcome with emotions, he starts talking about how he always wanted kids and even praises Jordan for all the sacrifices she made for her daughter. Eventually, April and Jordan kick him out, but Trevor goes on and on about how he can't wait to be a part of this family. Seeing his enthusiasm for fatherhood and his affection for her makes Jordan view Trevor in a new light. The next day, Jordan returns to school, determined to reinvent herself. She wears a stylish new outfit and walks in confidently. All the students, including Jasmine, admire her and change their attitude towards her. During the day, Jordan joins Isaac, Raina, and Devin at their upcoming pep rally. She watches as Isaac, who struggles with his stutter, has difficulty singing properly. Meanwhile, Raina and Devin's dance routine also falls flat. Jasmine, who's the judge for the audition, cruelly mocks their audition and selects them, hoping to humiliate them during the rally in front of the entire school. Recognizing Jasmine's ploy, Jordan steps in. She brings her friends to her apartment and gives them a makeover to boost their confidence, urging them to skip the pep rally altogether. That evening, Trevor visits the apartment again to meet with Jordan and confess his feelings for her. He sees young Jordan standing before him and hands her bags full of toys. When Jordan asks why he's doing all this, Trevor replies that he wants a serious relationship with the adult Jordan and dreams of having a family of his own. Touched by his honesty, young Jordan invites him in and asks him about his true intentions. That's when Trevor reveals that he knows Jordan is only mean because she's trying to protect herself. He adds that he genuinely cares about her and doesn't want her to feel lonely anymore. Hearing this, Jordan starts to fall for Trevor as well. She smiles and proceeds to give him a hug. However, she forgets that she's now a 13-year-old and tries to touch him sensually. Realizing the situation, Trevor immediately pushes her away and runs off as fast as he can. At JSI, April takes charge and gathers the team for another meeting, hoping to make things right with Connor. She gives everyone a chance to pitch their ideas, but finds none of them satisfactory. Just then, Connor barges into the office and demands that April present her idea. Determined to impress him, April pitches a concept for a new app called Discover Eyes. She describes it as an innovative app that allows users to see the world through a child's eyes. April thinks that her idea is stupid, but surprisingly, it manages to pique Connor's interest. Intrigued, he agrees to return the next day to hear a full pitch, leaving April with a glimmer of hope. Just as April begins to feel confident, Jordan unexpectedly shows up at the office. Furious, she confronts April after learning about the attempted pitch. She accuses April of trying to steal her spotlight and ruin her company. April tries to defend herself, but Jordan continues to insult and undermine her. Having had enough, April tells Jordan that she's a self-serving woman who doesn't care about anyone. She then quits on the spot and storms out. Initially, Jordan is unfazed and mocks April as she leaves. However, as she prepares to exit the office, she overhears her employees venting about her toxic behavior. One of them even says he never wants Jordan to return, which cuts deeper than she expected. Finally understanding the weight of her actions, Jordan returns to her apartment and reflects on her past behavior. She realizes that she has alienated everyone around her and begins to think of ways to improve herself. Just then, she receives a video message from Raina. Instead of performing at the pep rally, Raina and her friends are shown sitting in the audience, too scared to perform in front of the entire school. When Jordan realizes that they're giving up, she packs up her stuff and rushes to the school to support them. Determined to make things right, Jordan drives to the school, arriving just as the pep rally is in full swing. She finds Isaac, Raina, and Devin and convinces them to perform despite their fears. In order to encourage them, she takes the stage first and performs an impromptu yet hilarious dance routine. Her efforts initially draw laughter from the crowd, but after some time, everyone cheers her on and applauds her for trying. Unfortunately, Jasmine gets really jealous, so she tries to humiliate Jordan by turning on a fan, sending papers flying into her face, and causing her to stumble. Isaac, Raina, and Devin immediately rush to her side and help her up. They then thank her for her kind gesture and finally decide to take matters into their own hands. Feeling motivated, Isaac gets on stage and sings his favorite song beautifully, surprising everyone. Raina and Devin join in soon after with their synchronized dance moves. Their performance grows stronger by the second, and eventually, Jordan jumps in to dance alongside them as well. The audience is extremely impressed by the performance and starts clapping along. This causes Jasmine to be stunned by the turnaround. Not wanting to spoil anything, she remains silent but brooding. Just as the performance is about to conclude, April arrives at the pep rally with Stevie in tow. It turns out that she had finally managed to track Stevie down after making several important calls. Watching the students cheer for Isaac, Raina, and Devin, April feels a sense of pride and surprise at Jordan's transformation. She feels really proud of the person that Jordan has become and tries to help her in any way she can. After the rally, Jordan bids farewell to her new friends, who thank her for believing in them. She then approaches Stevie to apologize for her earlier behavior. Jordan admits she has finally learned her lesson and expresses that she wants to become a better person now. Stevie is touched by Jordan's attitude and playfully tries to reverse the wish, but to their disappointment, nothing happens. Back at the apartment, Jordan tells April that she plans to come clean about the age reversal magic since nothing else seems to be working. She sincerely apologizes to April for treating her poorly, admitting that she has been selfish and mean to everyone around her. Jordan even promises to do better and fully supports April's ambition to pitch Discover Eyes. She acknowledges that April is not only incredibly talented, but also the first real friend she has ever had. Touched by Jordan's transformation, April realizes that she has truly changed for the better and decides to stay in the company to help her. The next morning, Jordan wakes up to find herself back in her adult body. Overjoyed, she heads to JSI with a renewed sense of purpose and accompanies April to her pitch meeting with Connor. As April begins to present her idea, Jordan stands by her side, offering moral support. Despite April's creativity and determination, Connor decides to pass on the app. The entire company is left devastated, fearing for their jobs now that Connor is no longer a client. Feeling guilty, April apologizes to Jordan for ruining everything, but to her surprise, Jordan remains optimistic. She encourages April to try again, insisting that someone will eventually recognize the potential of her idea. Inspired by Jordan's confidence, April resolves to keep pitching Discover Eyes until she finds someone willing to invest. The scene shifts to 3 months later, where JSI seems to be thriving again. It turns out that after countless rejections, a client had finally accepted Discover Eyes, causing the company to reach new heights. Jordan, who is now in a healthy relationship with Trevor, announces the good news to her employees and reveals that the company has been renamed JSI and Associates to honor the team's collective efforts. To celebrate, Jordan treats everyone to donuts, symbolizing her transformation. April and Preston, who are now officially a couple, share this happy moment together. Meanwhile, Jordan is visited by Isaac, Raina, and Devin. Although they have no idea who she really is, they greet her warmly, and the group begins to dance together, concluding the movie.